At the heart of Plato's philosophy is one huge idea. To really understand the world and live a good life, you can't just trust what you see and touch. He says we have to aim higher, to focus our minds on these perfect, unchanging realities he called the forms.
And that, of course, brings us to the fundamental problem that Plato dedicated his entire life to solving.
Okay, so let's really dig into this. I mean, how can we possibly trust our senses when everything they show us is constantly changing, right? And maybe more importantly, how can we build a just society, or even be a just person, if we don't have some kind of stable, true knowledge to guide us? Plato was convinced he had the answer, and it all starts by turning our attention in a totally new direction.
Now, to really get Plato's solution, you kind of have to get his world. He was born into a wealthy Athenian family, but the single most important event in his life was the execution of his mentor, Socrates, in 399 BCE. That moment, it forced him to ask how a city could see a philosopher as a threat, and it pushed him to create his own school, the Academy, to train a different kind of leader, one guided by reason.
And all this personal history, all this political turmoil, it led him directly to his most famous idea, the world of forms. This was his answer to that burning question, what is really real?
So here's the deal. Plato basically saw reality on two levels. On one level, you've got the world of appearances, all the physical stuff we see. He called these copies. Think about a circle you draw on paper. It's never perfectly round, is it? It's just an imperfect copy. But then, on the other level, you have the forms. And the form of circle is the perfect, unchanging idea of a circle itself. For Plato, these forms, things like justice, beauty, and goodness, are actually more real than any physical object you could ever point to.
Okay, so if the forms are the real deal, how do we even get there? Well, Plato gives us a kind of roadmap. We all start with appearances, right? And we form opinions based on those imperfect copies. But through education, this rigorous process of questioning and reasoning he called dialectic, we can literally turn our minds around and climb from just having an opinion to having genuine knowledge of the forms.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just some abstract theory about another reality. Plato connects this idea directly to something incredibly practical, justice. This is all about how to live a good life.
See, for Plato, justice isn't about just following a list of rules. It's an internal state, a kind of harmony inside of you. He imagined the soul has three parts. First, there's reason, our ability to think rationally. Then there's spirit, which is our ambition, our drive, our sense of honor. And finally, appetite, all our desires. A just person, he said, is someone whose soul is in the right order, with reason steering the ship.
And this is his brilliant leap. In his most famous book, The Republic, Plato basically argues that a city is just the soul writ large. A just city perfectly mirrors a just soul. Just like reason should guide your soul, the people with knowledge, the philosopher rulers, should govern the city. The point is, you can't have a just political system without it being led by true knowledge, not just by power or money.
So, if you want to explore these ideas for yourself, where should you start? Let's take a quick look at 3 essential texts that are fantastic entry points.
First, you've got his masterpiece, The Republic, which lays out this whole vision of justice as an internal harmony guided by reason. Then there's the Symposium, which explores how desire and love can actually be a ladder, leading us upward toward the perfect form of beauty. And finally, the Phaedo, which takes place during Socrates' last hours, argues that the whole point of philosophy is to train the soul to focus on what's stable and eternal.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? For Plato, philosophy isn't some abstract academic game. It is a discipline. It's a way of training the mind to see beyond the fleeting, flickering shadows of the material world and to focus on the stable, unchanging standards of truth, goodness, and beauty. Which kind of makes you ask yourself, in a world that's always changing, what stable truths do you anchor your own life to?